Mark had always loved the quiet of his apartment at night. The city outside hummed softly with lights, traffic, and distant sirens, but inside it was calm. He sat at his desk, tinkering with a small gadget he had been working on for weeks, a device that could detect unusual energy readings. Some nights the gadget blinked harmlessly, registering ordinary electrical fluctuations, but lately it had started picking up strange signals that made no sense. Mark rubbed his eyes and yawned. He was tired, but curiosity kept him awake. His life was ordinary in most ways. He worked as an engineer, loved puzzles, and had a modest apartment with a balcony that looked over the city. He never imagined that tonight would be anything out of the ordinary. The clock struck 2 a.m, and Mark decided to get some sleep. He placed the gadget on the shelf and crawled into bed, pulling the blanket over himself. The room was quiet, and the hum of the city below lulled him into a deep sleep. Suddenly, the air in the room shifted. A strange, shimmering light appeared near the corner of the ceiling. Mark stirred, thinking it was a reflection from the streetlights outside. But the light grew brighter, almost solid, and then, in an instant, a figure appeared in his room. Mark's eyes shot open. The figure was a woman, standing in the middle of his bedroom. She looked human in shape, but there was something otherworldly about her. Her skin glimmered softly like light passing through crystal. She seemed surprised, and her eyes were wide with confusion. Mark froze. He had read about aliens in books, watched science fiction movies, but nothing prepared him for this. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The woman tilted her head, her expression curious but not hostile. She moved slightly, and Mark noticed that she didn't have normal clothing, but it wasn't inappropriate. Her form glimmered, almost like a hologram, and her modesty was naturally preserved by the light itself. Mark swallowed hard and finally found his voice. Hello?
Who are you?
The woman raised her hands in a gesture that seemed like greeting but also confusion. She spoke, but it was not a language he recognized. The sounds were musical and strange, like a combination of chimes and whispers. Mark realized he needed a translator. He grabbed the small device he had been testing earlier, the one designed to understand unknown signals. He pointed it at her and pressed a button. The device hummed for a moment and then produced a soft voice in English. "I am lost," the woman said. Her voice was melodic but clearly translated. "I did not mean to come here. My portal malfunctioned." Mark blinked. Portal malfunctioned? He had no idea what he was getting into, but his curiosity overrode his fear. "Portal, you mean? You came from another place?" She nodded a little awkwardly. "Another dimension. My enemies. They pursue me. I did not intend to be here." Mark's mind raced. He had always imagined being part of a scientific discovery, meeting extraterrestrial life, but the reality was overwhelming. He noticed the device she carried, a small glowing object strapped to her wrist. It pulsed in rhythm with her breathing. "Are they coming here?" Mark asked cautiously. She shook her head. "Not yet. They follow me through portals. I cannot stay long in one place." Her eyes darted to the window. "I need to stabilize," Mark thought for a moment. "Okay, I don't know much about portals or interdimensional travel, but I can help you. I build devices. I might be able to figure something out." Her eyes widened slightly as if surprised that a human could offer assistance. She nodded slowly. "You help me?" "Yes," Mark said. "I don't know what else to do." She stepped closer, her movements careful and precise. Mark could see her energy fluctuating. The shimmering light around her flickered, sometimes bright, sometimes dim. He realized she could not remain in his room long. The energy might destabilize and cause damage. He moved to his workbench and grabbed a few tools and gadgets, placing them on the floor. "Okay, if we can stabilize your portal energy, maybe we can send you back safely. I think your device is part of it." The alien woman looked at him with what could only be described as a mixture of hope and caution. She held out her wrist device. Mark examined it carefully. The material was unlike anything he had seen. Metallic, smooth, almost alive. He pressed a button on it gently and the device responded, pulsing brighter. Mark hooked the device to a small interface he had built for his experiments. The screen lit up with unusual symbols, and he realized that this was not just technology. It was a combination of energy manipulation and complex logic beyond his understanding. This is incredible," Mark muttered. I think I can help you, but I'll need your cooperation. The woman nodded, stepping closer. I trust you. Mark worked carefully, adjusting energy flows, calibrating the device, and using his own small inventions to stabilize the alien's form. The room filled with a soft hum, a combination of alien energy and human technology. Light danced across the walls, reflecting off the city skyline outside. Hours seemed to pass in moments. The alien's energy grew more stable, her light steadying. Mark realized that this was not just about technology. It was about patience, understanding, and improvisation. Humans might be fragile, but their creativity and problem-solving skills could rival even the most advanced beings. Finally, the device on her wrist glowed a steady blue, indicating stabilization. The alien woman breathed a sigh of relief, her form shimmering softly, more solid than before. Mark smiled, exhausted but satisfied. We did it, he said. You're stable. You should be able to return to your dimension now. She looked at him, her expression one of deep gratitude. You are brave, human, clever. Mark felt a warmth in his chest. It was strange to be praised by someone from another dimension, someone with powers he could only dream of. Thanks, I just did what I could. She extended her hand, and he hesitated for a moment before shaking it. There was a brief connection, a spark that seemed to transcend language and species. Suddenly, the shimmering air in the corner of the room shifted again. A faint ripple appeared, a warning that her enemies were approaching. We must hurry, she said. They are close, Mark nodded. Okay, portal. How do we send you back? She pointed to the small wrist device and then to the energy field around it. Human, clever, can help. Mark realized he would have to combine his knowledge of electronics with the alien's energy manipulation. He adjusted his interface, connecting it carefully to her device. The hum in the room grew louder, a mix of tension and anticipation. Then, just as the energy field stabilized, there was a knock at the window. Mark froze. His heart pounded. He looked at the alien woman, who tensed immediately. Her eyes were alert, scanning the room. They are here, she whispered. You really must finish. Mark took a deep breath and focused. He adjusted the energy output, channeling it through the interface and into her device. The room glowed, and for a moment it felt like the air itself had weight. The alien woman's form brightened, her figure outlined in shimmering blue light. And then, in a blink, she was gone. The light vanished, leaving Mark standing in a quiet, normal bedroom again. The device on his desk had stopped pulsing, and the room was calm. Mark exhaled slowly, feeling both relief and disbelief. He had helped an interdimensional being return safely, using nothing but human ingenuity and determination. The thought amazed him. Humans were fragile. Yes, but they could also be clever, brave, and resourceful in ways that even beings from other dimensions could respect. As he sat down on his bed, exhausted but exhilarated, his eyes fell on the small token she had left behind on his desk, a tiny crystal that pulsed faintly with a soft blue light. He picked it up, turning it over in his hand. It was beautiful, mysterious, and completely unlike anything he had ever seen. He smiled. The adventure was over for now, but he knew that life had just changed in a way he could never have imagined. The universe was larger, stranger, and more incredible than he had ever dreamed, and somehow he had proven that humans could hold their own, even in the face of interdimensional challenges. Mark looked out the window at the city below, the night calm and quiet once more. But he knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, the alien woman lived, and maybe one day she would return. Until then, he had a story no one would ever believe, and a small glowing crystal to remind him of the night when science, courage, and humanity had truly shone. Mark woke up the next morning with a sense of anticipation he couldn't explain. The city outside his window was just as busy and loud as usual, but his apartment felt different. The small crystal the alien woman had left pulsed faintly on his desk, casting a soft blue glow across the room. He reached for it, turning it over in his hand. It was warm, almost alive, and he felt a strange connection to it. He sat at his workbench, examining the crystal and thinking about the events of last night. He had helped an interdimensional being stabilize herself and return to her world. The experience was beyond anything he could have imagined, but it also reminded him of something important. Humans could solve impossible problems through intelligence and persistence. That thought filled him with pride. Hours passed as he tinkered with small devices, testing and retesting his gadgets. but his mind kept drifting back to her. Who was she? What dimension did she come from? And why had she come to him? Mark's curiosity was insatiable, but he also felt a quiet worry. Her enemies had been close. What if they found her again? Suddenly, the crystal on his desk pulsed brighter, startling him. A faint shimmer appeared in the center of the room, almost like a ripple in the air. Mark froze. The shimmer grew, expanding and twisting until he could make out a familiar form. And the alien woman was back. She stepped into his room, her glowing form now steady and confident. Mark's mouth opened, but no words came out at first. He had not expected her to return so soon. She smiled softly, a gesture that made Mark feel both calm and exhilarated. You're back, he said finally, his voice full of wonder. She nodded. I can promise. I had to return. My dimension. Unstable, my enemies still search. I need your help again. Mark realized this was not just a visit. It was an invitation to adventure. He rose from his chair and gestured to his workbench. All right, let's figure this out together. She stepped closer, her glowing form illuminating the room. Mark noticed something different this time. Her energy seemed stronger, more controlled. She moved with purpose, almost like she had trained or practiced while she was away. They began working side by side. Mark connected his devices to the crystal and her wrist device, analyzing energy patterns, testing outputs, and calibrating the interface. The alien watched him carefully, and sometimes she adjusted the energy herself, her hands moving with precision that made the crystal pulse in harmony with her movements. Hours passed in silence, filled only with the hum of the devices and the occasional soft word exchanged through the translator. Mark realized something remarkable. He and the alien were forming a rhythm, a team. Humans, he thought, could be small and fragile, but they could also adapt and learn quickly. His knowledge of technology combined with her understanding of interdimensional energy created something powerful. Finally, the interface began to show a stable energy pattern. Mark's heart raced. This could allow her to travel safely between dimensions without interference from her enemies. He glanced at her and she nodded in encouragement. We can do this, she said, her voice calm and confident. Mark smiled. All right, let's finish it. He adjusted the last settings, aligning the energy flows with her device. The crystal in his hand pulsed brighter, and the air in the room seemed to vibrate with energy. The alien woman extended her hands toward the crystal, merging her energy with it. A soft light filled the room surrounding them both. Suddenly there was a ripple in the energy. Mark's heart skipped a beat. He had miscalculated something. The energy was unstable. The alien sensed it too and grabbed his arm gently. Focus, human. You can do this. Mark took a deep breath and concentrated. He adjusted the interface, carefully redirecting the energy. Slowly the pulses steadied. The light around the alien grew calm, glowing steadily. Mark felt a surge of pride. They were succeeding. But just as he began to relax, a shadow appeared at the window. Mark's heart pounded. He recognized the outline. Creatures from her dimension using some form of interdimensional tracking. They were close, more aggressive than last time. The alien stepped forward, her energy flaring. They follow me. You protect, Mark nodded. He wasn't sure how, but he trusted himself and his inventions. He grabbed a small device from his desk, a portable energy field generator he had been testing, and activated it. A translucent barrier expanded across the room, creating a protective shield. The creatures tried to push through, their forms distorting against the field. Mark glanced at the alien woman. We need to send you now. She nodded, her glowing hands hovering over the crystal. Ready? Now. Mark adjusted the interface, connecting the field generator, the crystal, and her wrist device. The energy pulses aligned, forming a pathway for her to return safely. The creatures outside roared, or at least Mark thought it was a roar, and slammed against the barrier. But the pathway remained stable. Go, Mark shouted. The alien woman stepped into the glowing pathway. Her energy merged with the crystal and the portal. She looked back at Mark, her expression full of gratitude and admiration. Human, clever, brave, thank you. Mark felt a strange warmth in his chest. Be safe, he said. The light grew brighter and brighter until it filled the room entirely. Then in an instant she was gone. The energy collapsed, leaving Mark standing in a quiet, empty bedroom once again. The creatures outside were gone, and the city hummed as usual. Mark sank into his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. He had helped an alien being escape danger, using nothing but human ingenuity, courage, and determination. The crystal lay on the desk, pulsing faintly as if thanking him for his efforts. Days passed and Mark returned to his normal life, but he felt different. He had seen the universe beyond his understanding, and he knew humans were capable of far more than anyone imagined. He continued his experiments, hoping to learn more about energy, dimensions, and the incredible technology the alien had shown him. One evening, as he examined the crystal, it pulsed more brightly than usual. A shimmer appeared in the center of the room. The alien woman stepped through once again, her energy glowing softly. She smiled at him, a gesture that felt like friendship and trust. "You helped me," I returned. "With news," she said. Mark smiled, ready for whatever adventure was next. "I'm glad to see you." "What news?" She extended her hands and the crystal floated between them, projecting a holographic map of her dimension. "Safe, for now. My enemies still search, but you gave me hope. You showed humans clever, strong, they can help." Mark felt a surge of pride. He had never imagined that humans could make a difference on such a vast scale. "We can help," he said. "We'll figure it out together." The alien nodded. "Yes, together." Mark realized that this was the start of something far bigger than either of them had imagined. Humans might be small in the universe, fragile in many ways, but they could adapt, learn, and solve impossible problems. And in doing so, they could earn the respect of even the most advanced beings in other dimensions. As the night fell and the city lights twinkled below, Mark looked at the alien woman and the glowing crystal. Adventure, discovery, and challenge awaited them, and for the first time in his life he felt truly ready to face the unknown, knowing that human courage and intelligence could shine even in the most extraordinary situations. The alien woman's light pulsed in rhythm with the crystal, a symbol of friendship, trust, and interdimensional teamwork. Mark smiled, feeling a connection he could not explain, a bond that transcended worlds and species. And somewhere deep in the vastness of her dimension, the alien knew that humans could hold their own. They were clever, brave, and full of potential. And now, she had a friend in this world who could help her face whatever dangers awaited. The adventure was far from over. But for now, Mark and the alien woman stood together in the quiet of his apartment, two beings from different worlds united by courage, ingenuity, and the promise of many more extraordinary nights to come.